Hello everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Watch my video and subscribe my channel. A shocking new romance begins after Liam's miraculous recovery. Liam Spencer is still alive on Bold and the Beautiful. Since he seems to have a long life ahead of him, it's time to talk about who he's going to fall in love with or back in love with now that he's not dying. Bill saves Liam on Bold and the Beautiful. Okay. So Bill Spencer, who is also known as Daddy Warbucks, just spent $1 million on a miracle cure for Liam. Now we have to wait and discover if he really had a brain tumor or if Grace Buckingham was simply lying to get a lot of money. But even if she was lying to everybody, Liam still really felt he was dying. So it will still seem like a miracle to him, Hope Logan, Steffy Forrester, Bill, and all of his loved ones. Liam now believes that he had this experimental surgery and that his brain tumor is completely gone and he is ready to go. It's clear that Liam did have a real health crisis, even if Grace lied, because he cracked his head open at Bill and had a massive brain bleed, and then Luna Nozoa shot him in the chest. So, he hasn't been through a lot of trauma. Bold and the Beautiful. Liam isn't going anywhere. Anyway, Liam is going to live, and that means he's going to need some love in his life, and soon. And I mean, what's more life-affirming after a near-death catastrophe than falling in love? Let's just hope Liam's not near Bill coffee table when he does fall head over heels. We don't want him to crack his head again. But what we want to talk about is who's the lucky lady that's going to be in Liam life. Obviously, first person we had to discuss about based on recent episodes is Ivy Forrester, who recently came back on the Bold and the Beautiful character canvas. She and Liam had a romance years ago. They had a marriage in the past, and Ivy was just telling her niece, Electra Forrester, that Liam was the best boyfriend she ever had. Ivy even mentioned that Liam was the main reason she came back to LA. Bold and the Beautiful, Ivy wants Liam back. But right now, Ivy still thinks Liam is dying, because the good news of the miracle cure hasn't spread around to everybody yet at Forrester Creations. Bill, Steffy, Finn, and Hope are still processing the incredible news, as is Liam. So Ivy was telling Electra how Liam's death puts things into perspective and she wishes they could have had another chance. So after Ivy finds that Liam is going to live, well, she may run over to Casa Spencer and shove Bill out of the way, and Ivy may tell Liam that she still loves him and wants to be with him. Maybe Bold and the Beautiful was saving Ivy as a more regular episode character for once Liam was cured or fake cured. Whatever it's going to end up being. Bold and the Beautiful, Liam Spencer. Bold and the Beautiful, Liam Spencer. Bold and the Beautiful. Steffy will flip if Ivy goes after Liam. However, we can't forget Steffy and Ivy are old adversaries. And the last time Steffy spotted Ivy having lunch with Liam, it was last year, October maybe, Steffy got really petty, terribly hateful. It wasn't a nice appearance for a married woman. So, I'm interested to see if Ivy pursues Liam, whether Steffy will start acting that way again, or maybe Hope gets in the middle and is jealous. You never know. I mean, Steffy may meddle, because she is no fan of Ivy's despite the jewelry line now being back at Forrester. I could imagine Steffy pushing Hope towards Liam, just so Ivy can't have him. Plus, Steffy and Hope are friends. And Steffy is actually not big on the Carter Walton Hope pairing since together they stole the family business. So, absolutely, I could picture Steffy shoving Liam towards Hope merely to stop Ivy and for other reasons. Bold and the Beautiful. Hope and Liam reunion ahead? And that gets us to lady number 2, who is Hope herself. If Liam was truly simply pushing Hope towards Carter, because he was dying, now that he's not, Liam may wish to reunite with Hope. So, even if Ivy turned up and told Liam she wanted him, he might let her down gently if Hope's the one in his heart. If you remember, the last person Liam spoke to before he was shot was Hope, and he was raving about how much she meant to him. And now that he's all healed up, Liam might ask Hope, would she consider choosing him over Carter, or is she completely over heels, and this engagement is the real deal? I don't think he would be too heavy-handed about it, but he might make a pitch. Bold and the Beautiful. Will Liam fight for Hope? You know, Liam might explain to Hope that he was merely pushing her towards Carter, because he didn't want her to be alone after he died, and he could tell her, he's still in love with her, never fell out of love with her, wants a future with her. I do think Hope is still in love with Liam and wants to try again. So, Hope may say, Liam, yeah, I want a future with you. And then Hope's got to sit down with Carter, call off the engagement so that she can be with Liam. And honestly, it'd be a miracle if Carter actually got married. He's always an officiant, rarely a groom. The man equivalent of always a bridesmaid. Plus, he walked out on his last wedding. So, Carter getting walked out on would be karmic. Bold and the beautiful. Daphne back for Carter? I don't think Hope wants to hurt Carter. But I do think her heart belongs to Liam. And this would be excellent timing. Because Daphne Rose is on her way back to LA. She is back to Forrester Creations this week, which takes Carter by surprise. And Daphne would love to have another shot with Carter. So, if Hope bounces back over to Liam, that could be kind of a win-win since Daphne, is going to be letting Carter know she still wants him. And we can't talk about his next great love without discussing his other ex-wife. Steffy, I'm bringing her in for conversation reasons. I think most fans would prefer to see Steffy staying happy with Finn. And they're now excellent buddies, he and Liam. And given all that Finn's done for Liam, it'd be terrible if he tried to steal Finn's wife now that he got his miracle cure or imaginary cure, whatever it's going to be. Bold and the beautiful. Sally Spectre back to LA? I don't think fans want more of Liam, Steffy, and Finn triangle. I know I don't. Another option from a whole other standpoint is that they bring back Sally Spectra. I think it'd be cool if Bold and the beautiful had her back. Because Young and the Restless has her stuck in a dead-end relationship with Billy Abbott that I'm not loving. When Sally was on B&B, if you remember, she fell for Liam when he was married to Steffy. And then Liam and Sally almost died together when Bill blew up the Spectre building. When they feared they were about to die, Sally kissed Liam. And of course, that actually blew up not only the building, but Liam's marriage to Steffy. So, if Sally came back to LA, she could be pleased to find Liam single as a Pringle and Steffy and Liam divorced, and Steffy happily remarried to a gorgeous doctor. Personally, I wouldn't mind witnessing that. Bold and the beautiful brings in someone new for Liam. The only thing to mention in terms of a new love for Liam, though, is that Bold could always cast a totally new love interest. Someone else that Liam's never been with before. I do like a fresh and fascinating change of pace. But Bold and the Beautiful is not known for doing that. I suppose Finn is the only major new love interest that's been brought in for a main character. They brought in Daphne, and she's more of an incidental character. And I feel like she's meant ultimately for Carter, who's getting more screen time, but essentially is more of a secondary character himself, since he's one of the authors of the show. So we'll see how it goes. I have to say, there's a possibility of a new character, but again, I really doubt it. My favorite in sequence would be Ivy first, then Sally, then Hope, Logan, anybody, but Steffy really, because I don't want her and Finn's marriage messed up. Grace is more trouble than she knows. Nick and Taylor talk their Ridge, Brooke, and Fate on the Bold and the Beautiful image. CBS. This week on the Bold and the Beautiful, Finn and Bridget sense that something is really, really wrong with Dr. Grace Buckingham's treatment of Liam. With Grace stonewalling them, Finn and Bridget undertake their own investigating. They know that Grace was the one who told them that Liam had an inoperable mass and they saw the scans. But were they genuinely of Liam's brain or someone else's? Or is Liam still dying and there was no actual brain surgery and experimental treatment performed? Finn is determined to find out the truth. Nick wants to whisk Brooke off to Italy, but she's still hung up on the dressmaking half-brother of his that he can't stand. Nick watched Taylor propose to Ridge, and he figures they're still involved, but he goes to talk to Taylor to be sure. Taylor lets Nick know that not only are they involved, but she and Ridge are engaged, and she intends to bring him down the aisle so she can finally have her happily ever after with him. But with all this never-ending destiny talk from Brooke, will she get her chance? Nick is determined to his part to grab Brooke's attention. Will it work? But working against their interests is Taylor's roommate and future father-in-law Eric. Ridge's dad is determined to reconcile Brooke and Ridge. Once again, he tells Ridge at the office that Brooke is his destiny and to dump Taylor and reconcile with his ex. This time, will Ridge forcefully tell his dad to butt out of his love life once and for all? Or, with a trip to Italy coming, is Ridge starting to think about all of the memories he and Brooke share on the other side of the pond? Hope's engagement in crisis as Liam's recovery changes everything. Hope Logan has a hard choice when dying Liam Spencer makes a miraculous comeback. Will she keep her engagement to Carter Walton or return to her first love? Bold and beautiful spoilers. Hope's engagement in crisis as Liam's recovery changes everything. When a deathbed blessing becomes a living nightmare. Talk about awkward timing. Hope Logan finds herself in the most impossible situation after Liam Spencer's miraculous recovery from what everyone thought was a terminal illness. The man who actually told her to go on and find happiness with Carter Walton is now very much alive and breathing, and Hope's engagement now feels like it's built on quicksand. The foundation was already shaky. Here's the truth nobody likes to speak out loud. Hope only said yes to Carter's proposal because she feared Liam was dying. That's hardly exactly the romantic story you tell your grandkids, is it? Liam, feeling his days were numbered, gave Hope his approval to move forward with Carter. He wanted her to be happy after he was gone. Noble? Sure. But now that he's conquered the odds and survived, that blessing feels more like a curse. The whole thing has calamity written all over it. Carter finally thought he'd found his happily ever after with Hope, the woman who wouldn't flip between two men like a certain someone we all know. Meanwhile, Hope thought she was honoring a dying man's wishes by choosing stability over her complicated history with Liam. Those hospital scenes hit different. If you watched Hope at Liam's bedside during his health crisis, you know exactly where this is heading. The tears, the hand-holding, the desperate prayers. That wasn't just concern for her daughter's father. That was a lady understanding she might lose the love of her life forever. And now that she hasn't? Well, Carter better start preparing himself for heartbreak, because Hope's eyes tell a different story than her engagement ring. The bond between Hope and Liam during those heartbreaking sequences was unmistakable. After years of their on-again, off-again drama, watching them in such a raw, vulnerable moment reminded everyone why Lope has been such an enduring love story. You can't fake that type of relationship, and you surely can't compete with nearly a decade of shared experience. Carter deserves better than this. Let's be serious for a second. Carter Walton is a good man who's been everybody's second choice for much too long. The guy has been engaged more times than we can count, and it always ends the same way, with him alone while the woman runs back to her true love. Now he's witnessing his fiancée having second thoughts because her ex-husband didn't actually die. If that's not a sign to run, what is? Carter symbolizes everything Hope thinks she should want. Stability, maturity, no drama. But should isn't the same as does, and anyone with eyes can see that Hope's heart is already halfway out the door. The unfortunate man is about to become another casualty in the unending Hope-Liam-Steffy triangle that's been revolving since 2010. What happens when death doesn't do them part? Liam's recovery alters everything. That deathbed blessing? Consider it null and void. Hope isn't a grieving woman anymore, trying to honor a dying man's last wish. She's a woman with two very alive men who want to build a future with her. One offered her stability when she thought she'd lost everything. The other? He's the father of her child, her first love, and the man who just defied death itself. We all know how this plays out in soap opera land. Hope will try to convince herself she's happy with Carter. She'll probably even start organizing the wedding. But every time she looks at Liam, every time Beth talks about her daddy, every single moment will be a reminder of what she's giving up. And Liam? He's not going to sit back and watch the woman he loves marry another man just because he told her to when he thought he was dying. The clock is ticking on this engagement. The leaks are already implying that Hope's dragging her heels on wedding planning. That's soap opera language, for this relationship is doomed. Add in Liam's newfound hero status, and you've got a recipe for a reunion that feels imminent. Will Hope shatter Carter's heart to reunite with Liam? Will she try to push herself to stick with the safe choice? Or will this whole thing erupt in spectacular way when the truth about Dr. Grace Buckingham's strange cure comes to light? One thing's for certain. Someone's heart is getting smashed into a million pieces, and we're guessing it's not going to be Liam's. After all, when has choosing the steady, drama-free option ever worked out on the bold and the beautiful? This is a program built on emotion, history, and second chances, and Carter is about to discover that the hard way. As Nick makes his move, Brooke gives Ridge one last chance. Plus, Lee drops a major clue about Luna. Liam's healing continues to be the big subject at the Forrester Creations offices, with Ridge, Brooke, and Eric relishing in the miracle that has taken place. Eric gives a none-so-subtle comment about life being too short and then shows a Brooke-centric video, developed by Will, focused on the company's ties to Italy. With the trip to Italy back on, Brooke reveals that she's thinking about inviting Brooke. Ridge obviously thinks he's in charge of who can and may not visit the country, announces his rivals not invited. Once alone with Eric, Ridge speaks to Nick as someone who is arrogant, self-centered, takes advantage of every possible situation, including Brooke. Amazingly, he does this without a single sign of irony. Ridge correctly suggests that Eric wants his son to dump Taylor and reunite with Ridge. Bold B&B Eric Ridge office. Eric implies that if Ridge isn't careful, Nick will steal Brooke right out from under him. Sure, Eric likes Taylor, but he understands that Ridge's true love is Brooke. Ridge claims Brooke wouldn't fall for Nick since he's fraudulent and full of false bravado. But it's very evident that Ridge fears that's exactly what will happen. When Ridge claims Nick isn't the man for her, Brooke argues that he's right, because he is the right man for her. She remembered the time he returned, and she noticed him at the top of the water staircase, and the time he saw her through the keyhole in Italy. She then says the truest words ever uttered. This is ridiculous. Why is this happening? We're too old for this. Can Nick reclaim Brooke's heart? Nick arrives at the design firm to visit Brooke. They rapidly wind up reminiscing, and he argues that she needs a man who is faithful to only her, which is most certainly not, in his perspective, Ridge. Nick adds that when he returned to Los Angeles, it was to see her. There's a beautiful mention of his mom, Jackie, but the major topic of conversation is Ridge and the fact he's simply not the right guy for her. Nick Brooke, B&B. More. Ashley Jones mourns Malcolm Jamal Warner. Nick maintains he's thinking clearly and knows how he feels. Come to Naples with me, he adds. Let me show you the Naples I know. He wants to take her to shipyards. Building a boat is like writing a love letter with your hand. It's gradual, delicate, very difficult, and each brush of varnish is like following the curves of your lover's back. Brooke says she never thought of it like that, and I mean, who has? Nick says he's having a cruiser built and wants to take her out on the ocean to see your beautiful skin being kissed by the warmth of the sunlight. He adds to this temptation by adding, I might even let you wear my captain's hat. Brooke, Nick, B&B. More. Heart-stopping accident in Naples ahead. Alone in the design office, he contacts Italy to check on his project, then glances at a picture of Brooke and flashes back to their wedding. Will Ridge accept Brooke's offer? Brooke goes back to the main office and chats to Ridge, saying this trip won't be the same as the previous. She feels it could be better if Nick was there. When Ridge bristles, she reminds out, Taylor lurks around wherever you go. Why can't I have somebody? She adds that he's engaged, and it's not right for him to suggest she can't have someone in her life. Of course, Ridge attempts to pretend he'd be cool with her having someone in his life, but not, Nick. Brooke, Ridge, B&B. More. What's next for Steffy and Hope? Brooke reminds her ex that this is all because Ridge erroneously felt betrayed when she became CEO. It was all a misunderstanding, she says, despite him injuring her by racing off to create a life with Taylor. She is anxious to forgive him. This is the last chance, she cautions. If we can't do this, I'm just going to bring Nick to Italy with me. She begs him, literally, to come home to her. Is Lee keeping a very big secret? Deacon finds Sheila seated with her 8-toed foot propped up, working on inventory. Before long, Lee swings by and discussion turns to Luna. Deacon is rightly gobsmacked as the grandmas try to defend Luna's actions. He reminds out that the girl killed 2 people, then had a miracle second opportunity just to take hostages and shot 2 more people.